Are South Africans xenophobic? Or are we avoiding a deeper conversation? Some say foreigners are the problem. Others say crime has no nationality. Some believe locals are protecting opportunities. Others believe innocent people are unfairly targeted. So what's the truth? Is this xenophobia or frustration caused by unemployment, crime, corruption, and failed leadership? Different voices, different opinions. You decide.
Look, I think what's important here is for all of us to stop being hypocrites, number one. Both sides of the coin. Being xenophobic is immoral, it's not criminal. Yeah. Being undocumented is criminal, it's not immoral. But we are here protecting the undocumented people, which is criminal. And we are putting the spotlight on those who seem xenophobic, which is hypocritical. So if we're going to solve issues, let's just face the issues for what they are. It would be nice in this room to have the very foreigners, whether legal or illegal, standing up and taking responsibility. I'm yet to see foreigners that are documented helping us fight against the foreigners that are not documented. Because we're dealing with crime here.
What do you say to Indonesia right now? And almost every job here is reserved for Indonesians only, strictly. You can go to every restaurant you go out here, you're only going to see Indonesian people working there. Businesses as well. Most businesses are strictly for Indonesians, from cafes, spaza shops, or they call them marts here, all the way to, you can name it. Most businesses, basically, clinics, hospitals. If you want to own those kind of businesses, you might have to involve a local to be part owner of this business. Land in Indonesia, you cannot buy land, or rather in Bali specifically, there's no freehold as much. So you have to lease the land from the government through the owner for, I think, about 25 to 30 years. Why nobody is out there screaming these people are xenophobic? Not a single person. And you have all types of immigrants here, from Americans.
I don't think that you can describe people who want their country and their countrymen to be put first as xenophobic. I think every successful country around the world works that way.
I think we need to be very careful about xenophobia. We need to understand that South Africa does not have a xenophobia problem. We have an Afrophobia problem. We have millions of Germans in the Western Cape. We have a lot of foreigners in this country, whether legally or illegally, who are not from Africa. They are not being discriminated against. They are not being chased out. This is an Afrophobia, and that needs to be addressed. In order for this African Union to be a success, this needs to be addressed. I think it was condemned by the African Union, but it needs to be taken a step further. Negotiations have to be had. We have to ask, how can we have collaborative border crossing investment, trade, intra-Africa trade, whatever it might be, on a collaborative term with good border management. There is no such thing as an illegal African in South Africa. Africa belongs to Africans.
There's two sides to this story, and this is what you talk about: fairness. So let's mention, for example, the economic impact that shows, our own statistics, South Africa, show that each immigrant that is having a business here employs at least 3 to 4 people, contributes taxes. Nobody ever talks about that. We never talk about the dysfunctionality of Home Affairs in terms of its documentation crisis, where most people who are deemed, quote, illegal are simply without documentation. We don't talk about the 4 million South African citizens who are undocumented, who have to wait years for their documentation. What about them? What about, it's a documentation crisis, it's a systemic crisis. And what we're saying is, we recognize, I wonder why, for example, there was no mention of the Kopenhagen African Xenophobia March, which happened 2 weeks ago in this very city, with hundreds and hundreds of people with exactly the different kind of message. We don't talk about these things. So we're creating a very similar kind of thing to the United States, which is this anger that is then directed towards those who, by the way, built this city that we're very much in. Migrants built this city from Mozambique and Zimbabwe, miners who worked here, who created much of the wealth of the city we live in. And now we're trying to blame them for all of these ills, when in fact, if we start looking at the factual information about joblessness, there's no statistical evidence, there's no evidence that suggests that foreign nationals are taking away many, many jobs.